Rob, you're sharing the screen, so we want to go ahead and get the board up and start digging through.
I got the board. Yeah,
Or
I was just cleaning up the background stuff here. Okay. Cool. I think we can start. Current sprint. Oh, that was good. So can we accept some of this done stuff, and then start, and then bring new things into done, or what are we thinking? This was the decision, right? Are we all okay with this decision?
Yep. I think it would probably help if you read out what's
Oh,
there.
sorry. Sure. Good point, Simon. Thank you. All right. So in the done list, I'm trying to move items that we had in done into accepted, and then we'll bring some new. We should have probably move some things to done and prep for review. But another one of our done items is move backlog list to a separate Trello board, which is right there. We've done that. Thank you, Adam. Accept that. And then publish the browser support matrix. We have done that also, and so I'm going to take that as accepted. Whoops. Although this brings up another story to put in the next up thing. Hold on. Move documentation to a more obvious place. Okay. So I'm going to take that over here. James brought that up on the list, and I'm fully in support of doing that. It's just a little bit of code work to do it. Okay. So in the doing list, switch from IRC to Skype. I think we've done that. Do we want to move that all the way to accepted, or do we want to go a little further on it?
Did we close down that we're still?
Right, exactly. There hasn't been I haven't sent my email yet, and I don't know if you've closed down the chats.
I haven't closed down.
I see right now they're not closed down. So
right, and I'm not sure that even if I leave them, if they're going to be
you're
disbanded.
the master. You can close them down.
Oh, can I? All right.
Yeah, you're the master. You can close them down. I can send you the commands that you have to send to the chat server.
Well, it's not on Skype. I can't just kill it.
You could right click on it and close it, I think, as well. But there's a set of commands which is like which are IRC like that you can use as well. That's how I found out that Crowbar was a master for these.
Cool. If you have it, then yeah, send them to me.
I'll do that.
Cool. All right. So let's keep that done, and then we'll move it to accepted for the next time, because I think the majority of the effort is there. The next story is the database model story. We have the user screen work. It's actually in a pull request, but I'm doing a review on it, and I'm likely to not accept it because there's some things I want to change in that, so I'm going to keep it in the doing category. All right. I'm going to add. Hold on a second. I'm just bringing Surya back into the call.
Hi, Rob.
Surya. There we go. All right. So we'll do that. So the database model, just from a report user screen, is still ongoing work. So we'll keep that going. Adding the metadata to the dev tool is ongoing work. We've been making a lot of progress on this. I've been seeing the pieces for that, so that's good. But it's not done. It's not blocked. Rationalized structure of OBS chef objects. Oh, right.
Yeah, we're almost there.
Okay.
Just want to update the diagram that we have, and then actually that diagram is a SUSE thing anyway, or at least at the moment, because it talks about we really want to share that diagram with you guys, because it will really help you understand our whole model for CI and development workflow with both Crowbar and OpenStack, and how we build a product out of them, pretty much. And that's something that I think will help you guys when you get to the point of building packages yourself with the build service. So we do want to do that. It's a minor thing with respect to this particular card, but it's worth doing. I mean, we could split the card up, I guess. And then just resolve.
So I added it to the design review. Why don't we leave the design review as a task in here, and then we'll, because I think that's a good way to be very definitive. Hey, yeah, we've done a design review, we've discussed it, made sure the documentation was up to date. If that's all right, does that work? Or do you want to move it into done, and then we'll? Because this, in a way, we're taking done, and this is to be reviewed, is the way we're sort of using this category, right?
Yeah, I guess. Well, I don't know. I mean, I feel a bit uncomfortable about putting stuff in done when there are still checklist items open, personally. I think if we're going to do that, then we should split it up and into multiple cards and stick the things that really are done into done. And things that are still have things open. There's there's no point reviewing them in the context of deciding whether to accept them or not. We can review them in. Yeah.
We should have a category that says almost done. I'm kidding.
Yeah. So I agree with that. That makes sense. So we'll leave it here, or split it. Do we want to split it? Actually, I'm going to withdraw that. I'd rather not split it, because the tasks that need to be done are the review and complete tasks, and so I don't want us to start separating. Hey, I did all this work, but I didn't review. I didn't hand it off. I don't want to separate that from the work itself. Just like I don't like separating testing from the work of coding.
Yeah, right.
So let's leave that.
So, I think. Yeah, with that in mind, so maybe that means for this sprint we don't have much to review for acceptance, but the advantage of that is that we can actually spend time on the stuff in the backlog, whereas in the last planning session we kind of had the opposite problem, that we didn't even manage to get to the backlog. We only had time for reviewing stuff, if I remember correctly.
Correct. So on that note, let's keep blowing through. All right. So this is continuing to. We're still making progress on the CMDB pieces. I've been we actually are making a fair bit of progress under the covers here, but it's just still in progress. So the CMDB map is going, the event stuff is working, the pushing attributes is ongoing, and actually this task is gonna get pulled in with this map task. So there's a lot of work here, so we should be able to talk about that in the next sprint review. Be cool to actually have a demo. Might be. We'll see. I think I'm gonna try to split this card, and we can talk about that for the next sprint, or just have we'll split it into smaller stories for the guys doing the work. Automated test coverage matrix is going slow, but we're actually working to our goal right now is to clean up the test so that we get 100% passing, and so that's been the focus here. I don't know where this. I thought we actually had a separate story for that. No, so I'm going to add along these lines. I'm going to add a new checklist, which is so what we agreed to do for this was we had so we set up this, so we're saying we're gonna have tests that we know don't work in the dev tool and aren't expected to, so we're going to turn them off. Those for the integration tests, and then we're going to clean up current tests so they all pass. We budgeted some time in this sprint to do these two tasks to make sure those are working. So those are in process. Can I move this whole thing up? No. Okay. So that this is
them one at a time.
I actually want to move
them
the whole
one at a time.
The whole list.
I think you should be able to.
There's Victor. All right, I'm not going to spend some time doing it. I'll figure it out another time. Okay, but that's where that stands. We felt like that was important because right now we can't determine if everything's passing or not. So we're going to keep doing that. User docs. Surya has done a whole bunch of work on that. So that's in progress. You want to talk about it?
Yeah, actually, what we're doing right now is for each bar clamp, actually we are splitting the big doc into small pieces, and we are adding headings in the YML files and see how they're coming up. And we're also trying to create an images folder in that part to see how it comes up when it really runs. So that part is right now happening. It will be open. I think it will be over in the coming 1 or 2 weeks.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Cool. That'll be awesome to see that in there because that'll make a big addition to helping people get.
I'm also waiting for Wayne's feedback on the content. So in parallel, while we are breaking it and putting into each specific bar clamp, we can also incorporate all his comments and get it together.
Okay. I wouldn't expect a lot of content adjustment from Wayne at this point. So I don't hold waiting on corrections from Wayne. Right now, I'm more concerned with getting the actual current text in, and then in the next sprint, we're going to have a tech writer who's going to come in and he'll start actually looking at the content, hopefully editing it in situ after you've gotten the files dropped in. So.
Okay, sounds good then.
So,
so we'll concentrate more on. I'm sorry. Sorry?
Somebody had a question.
So I was just asking, so what will the technical writer document? Is it like a manual, or what is it going to do?
Excellent question. So the current documentation has a user guide for using the UI. It has a deployment guide for actually doing a setup and install for the system. And it has a getting started guide. And so the expectation is the writer's going to take those documents and update them for the changes that we're doing to 2.0 and add content where we've had confusion.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
So
Rob,
yeah.
The OpenStack users guide looks kind of outdated because we are adding quantum and other things, right?
Correct.
So probably we need documentation update over there as well.
We do, except we're going to have a quantum bar clamp, and that documentation is going to come in with that. So
yes,
what I'm hoping we can do is take the current, and then we're going to have to do reviews and everything on that. So I want us to be doing the review of of the documentation in the right locations in the right format.
Okay.
So
you'll be hearing from me in the coming week. Yeah.
Cool. That's going to be awesome. So just as you go, as you get a guide deployed and checked in, just please check off the guides. And then the same is true. This is one of those activities that's horrible to do as a huge backlog all at once, but it's not bad if you maintain it, which is trying to get license data in. So if you're in the documentation, there is a license area. This is for everybody, not just for you, Surya. Sorry.
Yeah, it's in the bottom part of the document. I have seen some sequence of licensing information.
Right.
We are splitting that also separately after seeing this particular checklist over here.
Good. The reason is that we're supposed to have a professional analysis being done, and so we're hoping to put that data into here, which is this bottom checklist. So I don't know where that stands. But this for us has been a blocking item for the license stuff. Is a blocking item for getting public builds out there. So that's why we're tracking it.
So the technical writer will be doing that part as well?
Victor right now is pulling the list together, and hopefully Dale, the writer's name is Dale, will be also helping get that information updated. But it's one of those, if people update that document when you add in a dependency, it makes it much easier to maintain. It's very difficult to reconcile, having had that job too many times.
Okay.
So Chris Dearborn is working on this. This code is under development right now. He hasn't split it into sub-items, but this specifically, I think, is going to get done for this sprint. We'll see how far he gets. This is going to be it's API only. So one of the things about this is the API. Okay. So there'll be a method for this in the API. Okay. And then this, I think this task is actually in the backlog, and I would move it backwards right now, because I don't think we're going to be we're not going to be reviewing it in the next sprint. So I'd rather have, if this happens, it's work ahead, and it might happen, but I'm not going to plan on it. Adam, are there any cards that you want to add or pieces in the doing list that you want to talk about?
Well, just to say that we're really close to being done on several of these. Obviously, the chef project structure, building of all the packages. In fact, the only one. So since we last spoke earlier in the week about which bar clamps to package that weren't already packaged, Ralph has already done that. So the only Only thing we're missing from packaging currently is a sledgehammer image. So yeah, that's and then we'll have everything done for OpenSUSE. So that's a pretty big milestone. And I think those are really the only.
Yeah, that's really awesome, actually.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, that's it's gonna be a big step.
When do you think you guys have the sledgehammer image done?
Go ahead, Ralph.
I can't really answer the question about the sledgehammer image. There is some obstacles in the open build service with regard to building ISO images. We need to talk to the admins of OBS first to be able to build those images. Once we have that sorted out, I think it shouldn't be too hard to get it done. Regarding the other packages, though all of these packages exist in OBS, I think there's still quite a bit of work to actually get them to a working state. Like the discussion we just started on the mailing list regarding gem files and gemfile.log and all the dependencies, it's still not straight for all the packages, but we are getting there.
Okay, that's awesome.
That's a big deal.
And I'm guessing you guys are the right people to talk to the OBS administrators, right?
Yes.
Yes, we know where they live.
It's something you know where they work.
Yes, obviously.
Cool. That'll be good. And that made me think in the background, one of the things that Judd was working on and I started looking at was using Vagrant scripts to build dev tools. With the changes that we're making, I'm finding that it's very easy to have a dev tool get out of date. And I spent about 2 hours yesterday just fighting a dev tool that had cruft in it somewhere, and I just switched to a new VM for my build environment, and all of a sudden became 100% healthy. So we're looking to automate that to help the new people that we're bringing on the team get up to speed faster. So I'm assuming that would be helpful for you guys in the SUSE side too, or not?
I'm not sure I understood what you were saying.
So what we're doing is we're building. So to build a new dev environment for us, a new dev VM, because we have some people who do their dev completely from their desktop, but most of our team uses a dedicated virtual machine to act as a dev environment for the check-ins and check-outs and get and pull and handling all that. And so what my experience has been is that we need to I basically throw one of those away every 6 weeks or so and just build a new one, because it just doesn't take that long to do it. And so one of the things that would be helpful for our new people as they come up to speed if there's a Vagrant script to do it. Right. I'm actually getting to a point where it'd be helpful to have two different build VMs, because that would let me review and test somebody's code at the same time that I'm working on my own. Does that make sense? Vagrant's a scripting system for VirtualBox.
Right, so it's not going to help us generally because we'll be using KVM, but we can do something very similar using SUSE Studio.
Well, I don't think you actually, are you guys building inside of VMs or are you building on your native desktop? Because not everybody is building inside of VMs. I'm actually not building inside of VMs. Victor is building inside of VMs. So not everybody is.
Currently, I am not building at all, but everything I do with the dev tool currently I'm doing on my main workstation, not inside a VM.
Right.
Hi, this is Wayne. I was just going to point out I use a VM for development, and it's long term. I don't have to rebuild it or I've had mine for months, and it's my main development environment rather than Windows.
Yeah. And that would, yeah. I'm jealous. But. So, all right. I didn't mean to dwell so long on this, but so it's background work just from a tools perspective. You ready to talk about the what's coming? Oh wait, and process. Any process check items that we need to do? Oh, I haven't been taking notes for the background on what we moved on the Trello board, but.
I guess to a certain extent Trello is kind of capturing that for us.
Right.
That reminds me of an issue that we just faced with our internal Trello boards, which is that we've been using it for quite a long time, and we have, as you would expect, amassed a number of completed cards over probably 10, 15 sprints. And I recently wanted to retrieve or find an old card and look something up in it. And I discovered that if you use the Trello archiving feature, then actually, you can archive individual cards or entire lists, and both of those are kind of suck in the way that it works. That basically, once it's archived, once a card is archived, it's kind of limited. There's only a limited view of it, and if you archive an entire list, for example, if we wanted to archive the accepted column of this current thing and say, okay, that's our list of accepted for this sprint, we want to just archive that and then have a new accepted list for the next sprint, then using the Trello mechanism for that means that all those cards then become completely invisible. You can't search through them, read their history or anything like that. And the only way to do it is to unarchive it and then find whatever you need and then archive it again, which is obviously sucks. So the solution that we had, that we came up with this week, was to create another board, another board, which is specifically an archive board. So rather than archiving the accepted list, we just move it to the archive board and rename it and say, okay, this is, Sprint 17's done list, effectively. So that might be something.
Okay. So you're suggesting that that each sprint have its own accepted list is sort of where you're going?
Yeah. So, and there's a single board where you kind of amass a list per sprint, and then anytime you want to search through stuff that's been done in old sprints, then there's a single place to search, and then you can use all the normal filtering features that Trello offers for that.
I can never remember where to create new lists. Where do you create a new list?
Well, you want to create a new board or a new list?
I was thinking that we would create I was going to try and rename this list to be the sprint, which is 1206, and then create a new one for the sprint that we're moving to, which is going to be 101. 103.
Oh yeah, okay.
Because that's what I was just going to implement that, right? It makes sense to me.
Yeah, so the way you add a new list is on the right-hand side, but you can't see it at the moment because you've minimized it. So you have to, click on that.
So there'd be a sprint. I should do 1201. Oops, 13. I'm going to have to get used to that all over again. How do you guys want to organize the dates? All right, we'll do it. in a international friendly way. How's that? And call it sprint, of course. Oh, this should be called, I should have called this accepted.
Well, this will go in on a. We'll move this list to an archive board anyway. So, in the context of the archive board, it will be kind of obvious that it was stuff that we did.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I think I don't want to take people's time, but it'd be cool if I'll see if I can find a way to change this. Just say accepted for this and accepted for that, and then we'll. I like it. I like it a lot.
So, I mean, if you want, I can create a new board, and move the accepted stuff to that.
That makes sense.
All right.
I really like that because then we'll have a very clear view of the work we've been doing per sprint.
Yeah.
And then hopefully we can get into a practice of splitting these cards into. So what I'd really like to be doing is in the doing category, pick work that we think we can get done, and clear the doing list every time. So we'd actually get to see doing, done, and accepted flow that we're not getting right now. So that's good. So, yeah, I'll note that as a process, if everybody's okay with that. Okay.
Oh, so actually, I'm confused by the date on the list you just created. Is this you want the dated one to refer to the sprint that's just happened, right? Or
That's that's good. The bookending thing is confusing. So
what I suggest is that
oh, you're right. I did it wrong.
so that we just on this current sprint board, we just always have a list called accepted, and then we take care of introducing the date and or the sprint number on the archive board, and we just move so we just move the accepted list to the archive board, rename it, and then recreate accepted on the current thing.
That makes sense.
So as a new empty list.
Okay.
All right. I'll take care of that.
Okay.
So what's the date for this sprint that's just finishing?
Sorry, you're right. This is we're just starting. This is the one we're starting. So the one we just finished is 1206, or 6 December 12 would be better. So it'd be better to call this, to be more friendly about this, would be 06 December 12, and I'll switch. I'll start calling this. So this one is really 20 December 12. And then this sprint should become 03 Jan 13. And we'll fix that for the future.
Sorry, I just dropped.
That makes sense. So we'll do the cleanup. I think that's a great suggestion. And there are people in favor of breaking the stories down more as the other. So along those lines, do we want to split some of this up? Whoops, did I lose voice? Hello?
Yep.
Okay. So for the next 20 minutes, I think the things in this list are still reasonable targets for the sprint. The question, I guess, is do we want to split some pieces out so that we can actually achieve all these things in the sprint? Let's see. I think this is... Victor, are you on? No. I don't think the CI information is going to make it all. Although Victor's working on it. I need Victor's input to know if those are reasonable things to finish. So maybe it's not practical to split these tasks here, but I think before we add more things to doing, we should make sure we don't add them unless they're split. Well, this one I think I do want to split. How do I split?
I don't think there is a way. I think that has to be done manually.
I can copy it.
Single checkbox items.
Yeah, I think you can. Can you not just move the? I think you can move the checklist to another card off that's being created.
But first thing I want to do is copy this card. Copy. Okay. And then I can just remove this. Let me make sure it's copied first. There's license. Okay. So now this one, delete. All right. So that is fine. And then the license docs here, we're going to delete this from here. So now we actually have a split, and then we're going to move this to a different list, which is in the next up. Actually, it's background. Because we have an external. We're waiting on an analysis for that. So, okay. This one I think is small enough. This one we can accomplish. I'm at the bottom. Do we have anybody assigned on generating the metrics? I would argue this is not. We're not going to be doing this sprint, so I would pull it out and put it in the backlog. Is that all right? Sorry, I should be reading it. The automated test coverage metrics I think is not going to get done. Not getting attention this sprint, so I would move it to the backlog. Okay.
Should it be moved to the backlog board instead of the next up column? Just to add more confusion here.
It's a good question.
Well, I think.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I added the next up list, and I was slightly aware of the potential confusion because we have a backlog board as well. The idea was that as stuff emerges through the sprint, we might decide, oh yeah, this is something we definitely want to do next sprint. So that that's a kind of a staging ground for stuff that we can grab from the backlog board, or stuff that has just occurred to us that needs to be done before we can get to other stuff on the backlog board. So it's like, like a way of tagging cards saying these are our top priorities for the next sprint.
Right.
So it's not. Or actually, maybe I said that completely wrong. Actually, no. I was probably, when I created it, I was probably actually thinking of it as next up for this sprint, but no one's actually doing it right now. Yeah, that makes more sense.
I think those are very similar because
for our Trello boards as well.
Sorry.
I think that what Adam just mentioned is how we do it for our other Trello boards as well. We have this next up column, which is kind of the sprint backlog, not the whole project backlog. It's just tasks that should be done during this sprint, but nobody is currently working on them.
Oh.
So that's like planned tasks for this sprint, and if I start working on it, I move the card from next up to doing and assign myself to it.
Then we definitely should. Do we want to create a backlog just for make housekeeping easier? Create a backlog list?
There's the backlog board.
I know, but what I'm wondering is just from a housekeeping. So what I could do is I could take this and I could move it. I could move this whole story to the backlog board. Okay, and then it's in the testing CI. Okay, so we have enough data to see this, so we can just move this. Is that all right?
That doesn't make sense to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, because this board is specifically concerned with the current sprint, and this is the backlog items for this sprint.
Right, and we don't have anybody working this.
Oh, sorry, you're talking about that particular card.
This one
sure.
card.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to clean up.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remove this. So this goes to our backlog, into the testing CI bucket.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Okay. And then from that perspective, I'm going to
Why
move background
why would
here.
there people? Okay, never mind.
Oh shoot! No, this is right. I'm mixed on where this belongs. So background are things that we have going on that we're just trying to create awareness for. That aren't they're being worked, but they're not really impacting. They're not deliverables for the sprint. Okay. Okay, so that is one of the things that we have in the plan. Crowbar 2, install Chef Sousa. Okay, you guys, that's ongoing. Good.
That's not ongoing. That's planned.
This is you're working this in the sprint.
We are starting to work.
Okay. ISO generated. So is this ISO? Okay, this is based on the Sousa-based ISOs. I would suspect this is not we have other dependencies. This is blocked right now. So I would move this to the backlog at this point. Is that a safe?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
The idea of that was to get ISOs which the DevTools smoke tests can run on.
Right.
Right.
And what I know that Victor right now is focused on getting our CI infrastructure to build the pull requests. So
okay,
that's why I just don't think that we're gonna get to it this time, because I know Victor's already fully booked.
Okay.
Back in testing at CI. Okay. I'm going to leave it there. Okay. This is not going to happen this sprint. So based on that, I like this better. So because it's clearer. This is in ship ready, I believe. moving documentation to a more obvious place. I'm I'm planning to do this. So what I'm thinking to do for this should be a small change, but James had suggested, and I think it's the right thing to do, is so it's going to be in the root of these projects docs, and then instead of hidden in the Crowbar framework directories, because right now it's really hard to find, and so it's not intuitive. It's hard for people to figure out where to go, and then we keep putting it in other places. The other thing I want to do is allow documentation to accumulate in the Crowbar repo, not in Crowbar bar clamp. So these two changes, based on commentary I've heard, seem very natural and are a relatively small change. So I will fix that in the background. Is everybody okay with that? I'm not going to break.
Are we going to
I'm not going to break the old stuff. What?
Rob,
Yep.
Wayne, we'll move the existing documentation out of Crowbar bar clamp into higher up. Is that what you're
That's
saying?
what my thought is, that we'll move it from being docs default blah 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 underneath the current Crowbar bar clamp stuff into the repo root / docs, and then tree it up from under there, so that people can start dropping in documentation in the obvious place. Does that make sense?
Does that mean that would be bar clamp specific documentation would be residing in the Crowbar?
No, the
Project
bar
directory?
clamp specific documentation would stay in the bar clamps, but we've been accumulating a lot of Crowbar general documentation, like the dev guides and builder and all that stuff, and right now it's spread everywhere.
No, that's fine.
So what I want is
I see.
I want to use Crowbar documentation in Crowbar, and then allow the bar clamps to have their own documentation, like the plan was.
Okay, so like the Crowbar User's Guide would stay under the Crowbar bar clamp repository, but the development guide, for example, would move up to root.
Yes. And it
Okay.
might be
So
that we find that some of the Crowbar User's Guide should move up because it's the outline, and the details would stay in the user guide under the bar clamps.
Shall we? Shall we let Surya? Surya and his team are breaking up documentation to put into the docs directory under Crowbar bar clamp. Shall we let them finish before trying to move it all around?
I'm not planning to break it from where. I'm not planning to break the current location. I'm just going to add. It should be additive. But if anything, it's changing the top levels of the tree, not the places where we're actually putting the docs. I'll put together a more concrete description of what I want to do and circulate it on the list. With some actual thoughts about where the documentation would be. It shouldn't impact Surya. It shouldn't impact you very much from where you're positioning these documents. We might end up moving some things, but
Okay, thanks.
Thank you for adding these stickies. Okay. So what else do we get? So is the 1.3 migration? I don't think the 1.3 migration is happening this sprint, or maybe it is. I think this might happen. So I'm gonna leave that card in. node attribute data history. This is going to get moved. This needs to get moved to the backlog. So what I'm not doing this sprint, this is actually my card. I split it. Is I am not storing historical data yet. We're only storing the current information between the node and the attribute. And when we get historical data, that's going to trigger. When we want to do that work, it's going to trigger this card. I'm going to put it in on deck. It occurred to me that for ship ready, it's not required for us to keep a history of what the data was. We only need to know what it is. So I decided to split that out. Okay. So in our backlog and doing lists, is there anything that is not does not look like it's actively? It could get moved into the done category for this sprint. I don't think we're going to be 100% successful, but I want to get closer. Okay. This might be too big of a stretch. I need Victor's input on that. Tell you what, I'm going to review these with Victor and see, because Victor's tied into a lot of these. In our next sprint plan, we're going to be back aligned because we didn't do a review before this, so I don't know as well as I'd like exactly where some of these things stand. All right. Any comments about this?
Just one. Yeah. One observation. I mean, I think obviously we're still, everyone getting up to speed on this whole process. So I don't think we have to worry too much just yet if we didn't move a huge number of things into the accepted column this time. But having said that, I think we need to be, as a team, a bit more careful about who's leading individual cards. This is something we've talked about internally. It's the same kind of thing that we faced. I found a good article on using Trello for Scrum. In fact, I think maybe even sent it to the Crowbar list. Yeah, right.
Yeah, the 5.
So on that blog, it makes a really good point that it actually suggests that you should never assign multiple people to a card, because then that blurs the ownership of that card, and one person can assume someone else is leading on it and making and driving it forwards.
Good point.
And I think that's fair enough if each card is a nice kind of simple chunk that only makes sense for one person to work on. But quite a lot of the things that we do, I think, are collaborative things, and then it's handy to track, okay, which group of people are working on this card. But then that does blur the boundaries of who's driving it. And I think none of us, me included, have been particularly rigorous so far about which cards we're assigned to, and then making sure if we're assigned to something that card really is being driven forwards. So I think that's something that we should try and focus on for next sprint. And I think it would also help a lot if anyone who has a stake in the sprint, anyone who is assigned to any of the cards really should be at the sprint planning meeting. Otherwise, it gets difficult to sort of decide a commitment about what we're going to do for the sprint and to review things that review prior commitments.
Totally agree. I like it. Adam, I actually think you delivered the perfect close for the session. So with that, I would suggest that we're making progress. I feel like it, and we've done our hour. We probably should individually spend some time looking at the backlog so that we can talk about that in the next sprint, in the next plan. I'm trying to hold on. I need to see what my
Are we clear on dates for the next meetings? Because obviously with the
Good question.
holidays, how does that impact the structure of this coming sprint?
Our expectation was that. Sorry, Simon, were you going to say something?
No,
Okay.
I wasn't.
thought I was
not going to say something. I know that we need to do a 3-week sprint or something at one point, right? Or to be in sync and that kind of stuff. So
our team's planning cycle will line up with the 2-week cycle on the 3rd again. So we are fine, assuming that we just keep on a 2-week cadence. So the Dell team will be on this cadence starting on the 3rd.
Okay, so effectively between now and the 3rd, there is no. Well, if we manage to do stuff for that sprint, then great. But that's kind of extra time on top of the sprint that nominally begins on the 3rd. Is that? What you're saying?
We're actively working the things on this list now. Hopefully, we'll have some things to move into the done and accepted categories. It might require us splitting the cards, so I'm going to look at splitting cards, when we review it, so that we can do that with the expectation that done means documented, tested, complete. If we can split, we'll do that. What we do need is a design meeting before the 3rd. The first is not good. The 31st people might object to. So what I would suggest we do is try to have a Wednesday design meeting, maybe at 10 a.m. Central, if that's all right, on Wednesday the 2nd. Is that?
yeah, I won't be here, but you guys obviously can do this without me. So
So just to be clear, that the items that are listed on the current sprint backlog, are we aiming to have those complete by the 3rd, or they're going to be targeted for the sprint beginning on the 3rd?
These are in active development, so everything that's in doing are things that people are doing. I don't know if they're going to be complete for the 3rd.
But I mean the sprint backlog list just to the left of the doing list.
These are things that I was thinking that we would be starting to do. So I need to. Okay. I'm planning to move this into doing when I start it. But first, I have to send the suggestion to the list and socialize it. And then both of these things, if you guys sounded like you were going to start. Right. This we put on. This would be part of the design review meeting on the 2nd. Simon can send out his that's in the doing list. Yeah, I mean we can move these off this backlog deeper in, but I feel like these are reasonable candidates to be moved into doing if we start them.
Sure, I'm just trying to make sure I understand what are the expectations for what we're hoping to achieve when we have that review session on the 3rd.
Yeah. Basically, we are on holiday here at SUSE between, starting next week until the 6th of January. So basically, work starts again on the 7th of January here. So whatever we do on the 3rd or 2nd, there isn't really time to do something.
No, I misunderstood.
We would have basically the same conversation we have right now.
Okay. So do you guys want to push the sprint plan meeting out either to the 10th, or for us it would be preferable to do the 17th to stay in line with our planning, but we'll have So we shouldn't expect you. I guess this is the question.
Yeah. From my perspective, the 17th should be good to go with.
Okay.
At least there's time to do something, and we can talk about it.
So what I'd like to do is, because it lines up with Dell's planning, is we won't do the design on the 2nd because it sounds like you guys aren't available. We'll push that off a week. That's very reasonable. But we're going to still look at the Trello board and try and do our updates on the 3rd. Because that'll line up with our cadence, and then so after that we're talking about 1/7. Okay, and then so this design meeting is actually going to be on the 9th. No, we're back on Tuesday cadence, so it can be the 8th. Did we say? Are we trying to do? Now I'm confused. Tuesday design meetings or Wednesday design meetings?
Wednesday,
I think it was Wednesday. So we're going to... Yes, it was. Okay. So this will be targeted for the 9th. And of course, people have already slammed scheduling. Oh, okay. And then we had talked about trying to do these at 8 in the morning instead of 8 instead of... So this would be where there's already one scheduled here at this time slot. So I would suggest we use that time slot. So that would work.
I think we're okay with making it later in the day if that increases the chances of you guys attending. It's quite a lot to ask to be at a meeting at 8 in the morning for some people.
I think we'll get probably better attendance if we do it at 10 for us. It's also easier if we include West Coast people.
Yeah.
So let's do that. Okay. And so we're going to be. This is our sprint. Our sprint cadence is going to be 3rd and 17th. That makes sense. We'll split these cards up a little bit, but the goal is in the 17th planning that the backlog is going to be committed stories. The doing is going to actually reflect things that are in progress. Blocked, done, and accepted are going to be blocked, done, and accepted. That makes right. Well, we'll move to done. Accepted only transitions during this meeting. All that makes sense? Cool. I'll try. I'll make some effort to look at the ship ready backlog too. See where we get. Anything else?
Well, for me, I think we're good.
This is very good. Is anybody from the SUSE side going to be available that first week of the year then? And we shouldn't expect to see you guys.
I probably will. I haven't finalised which days I'm going to be working yet, but because I'm technically employed by Novell UK rather than SUSE, so I have a different structure in terms of holidays, public holidays, and so on. So I'll probably be around, but that will become clear shortly. I hope.
Cool. That makes sense. All right, then let's end the call.
All right, thanks.
Take it easy. Bye.
Bye.